The following presentation will be on handling quotations within an academic paper. To begin, let's discuss when to use quotations. Quotations can be used when the wording of a passage is important to its meaning, when the author or speaker may lend credibility to a paper, and when the words are specific to a passage being explained. To expand upon these, when wording is important. Sometimes, a quote may use specific words or phrasing that make it impossible to paraphrase without losing meaning. A quote may use particular wording that you feel is important to include word for word, so you quote it. When the author lends credibility. If an author is well known or an expert on the subject of your paper, directly quoting his or her words may lend credibility to your text. When words are specific to a passage being explained. Sometimes you may want to use the exact wording from a passage you are explaining or interpreting. If the wording is important to the point you are trying to make, you should include it. It is important to remember that unnecessary quotes actually hinder the effectiveness of a paper. A good rule of thumb to determine which quotes are necessary and which quotes are not is to remember that a quote is only necessary if it helps support your thesis. Including quotes just to increase the length of your paper can only harm you in the long run. Now onto formatting quotes. For shorter quotes, periods and commas go inside quotation marks unless there is a citation at the end, where they will go outside the parentheses. When the quote ends a clause, semicolons and colons go outside quotation marks. If a question mark or exclamation point are a part of the quote, they go inside quotation marks. If they are not and are simply a part of your text, they go outside the quotation marks. Ellipses can be used to replace omitted information within a quote or to show that the quote continues on after you have cut it off. Brackets can be used to alter or add words to a quote. Slashes are used to divide lines of poetry verses. And parenthetical citations generally go at the end of sentences before the period. For longer quotes, you use block quote format, which is indented. You introduce it with a colon at the end of the preceding sentence. Block format replaces quotation marks, so you do not need them. And parenthetical citations come after punctuation. I have included some examples of block quotations in two common citation styles, APA and MLA. For APA, a block quote is used when a quote has 40 or more words. In APA, a block quote is used when a quote is 4 or more lines. Both have basically the same structure. However, the citation at the end, as you may notice, is different. In order to effectively incorporate a quote into your paper, consider these 4 techniques. Reference the context of the quote. Consider the story events or the information in the passage or even the speaker or author to provide context before you include the direct quote. Only quote what's necessary. Once again, too much is a bad thing. If you include too much information in your quote, you can take away from its meaning and distract from the important elements of it. Build sentences around quotes. So your quote fits into your sentence structure. Consider picking a quote and then constructing a sentence around it so the flow from your text into your direct quote makes grammatical sense. You can edit quotes for clarity and flow. Using brackets or ellipses to edit quotes to fit within the flow of your sentences can be useful, but it is important that any edits you make do not change the meaning of the quote. As with any material that comes from an outside source, quotes must be cited in your paper. I've included here some basic rules for in-text citations with the two most common citation formats in academic writing. First, MLA style. These are just the basics, so MLA style follows an author-page style of citation. Both author and page number must appear. Author can be included in the text. Page number must always be in parentheses. Consider the context strategy that I mentioned previously. You can include your author as context before introducing your direct quote. If an author is unknown, you can use the work's title. This information is important for your in-text citations that come at the end of direct quotes that will come before the punctuation. Next, APA style. APA style follows an author date style citation, so you will include the year that your works were published rather than just page numbers, but direct quotes still require page numbers. If there are no page numbers, other organizational elements can be used, such as paragraphs. This is useful for online sources especially. For more specific questions about citations, the Purdue Online Writing Lab is a great reference. That was my presentation on handling quotations. I thank you for your time.